today's video we're gonna talk about why you could be the very best artist, the best singer, the best writer, the best photographer, but you will never make it if you don't understand one important thing. And I'm gonna tell you what that is and how I fixed it for myself. But first, let's get on the way. Because once again today I have a full office day just editing and then fixing a few things for my freelance business. I'm currently working on setting up contracts. So to get out and get a little bit of fresh air, you and me are gonna take a walk together and then I'm gonna explain what I want to tell you in this video. So, and the idea to talk about this today mainly came from an episode of the podcast from Matt Diavella that I recently saw on his channel. And in one of his episodes, he interviewed a blogger and photographer called Carolyn Lee. And she said something very interesting that I totally agree with and I think you should definitely know and hear about. So here's a short little clip of what she said on Matt's podcast.
I think sometimes the people who we see as great artists or great creators, a lot of times they're actually not the best that's out there. It's just that they're the best at putting their work out there and having it be seen. Some of the best creators and artists are people that haven't even been discovered because they're not people who know how to market themselves. Maybe they don't even have the confidence to put their work out.
And to be honest, I couldn't agree with this anymore because I personally know that I've been struggling with this exact problem and still totally do to this day. And maybe some of you do too, so let's talk a little bit about that. So when I started making these videos, I knew that I would have one very big problem to overcome, which is exactly that thing that Carolyn said in her interview, which is I totally am not a self-promoter. And especially in the very beginning, it was a very big hurdle for me to come up with the confidence and start filming myself and start putting myself in videos and then send them out on YouTube. Because there are always these thoughts. What are people thinking about it? Will they like the video? Will they not like the video? Do I sound weird? Will they think the quality is not good enough? Will there be bad comments? So in the beginning for a very long time I put it off, or in some cases I wouldn't even put the videos I made out. Could you please make some room and get out? But then quite often I found myself watching other people on YouTube, seeing their content and seeing how apparently super easy it seems for them to put themselves on camera and then just upload to YouTube. And I was wondering, how can that be? Because oftentimes I also had the feeling that the quality of the videos that I can produce could be way better than other things that I see out there. And why then is it that the stuff that I'm putting out does not get any attention? Well, guess what? Because there's one big difference. Because they earned it and I hadn't. Because they had put out way more content than I would ever had. They weren't too worried about what other people would think, so they just created content and put it out there for the world to see. While I myself got stuck in my own perfectionism and in some cases worked so many hours on one video that in the end I then didn't even put out because I thought it wasn't good enough. And having struggled with this for quite a while, I personally came to the conclusion that perfectionism is nothing really else but another word for describing lack of confidence. Because one thing to realize that whatever you create is never going to be perfect, so you just at one time and point have to be okay with putting it out anyway. But if you lack the confidence that it's still going to be good enough, that's when you get stuck. And that lack of confidence in the very end is what Carolyn meant and what's stopping many creative people from actually putting their work out there, and in the end prevents them from ever being discovered. I can grow, I can bloom, so get out of my face. Oh, would you give? And if this at all sounds a little bit like what's happening to you, then hear me out, because I think for myself I found some sort of a solution on how to deal with it, and I want to share a thought about that with you today. And that was one idea that I took from a book called The Confidence Gap, which has one core idea that made me shift my perspective on this entire issue and helped me since to come up with the confidence to still put the videos that I'm creating just out there and see what happens. So since it helped me quite a lot, I thought I'd share that with you because it might help some of you as well. And that entire book revolves around that one idea that there's just one thing that we have the wrong way around and we just need to fix our perspective on, which is that we normally think we first have to feel confident in order to then be able to do something. And if you think about it, that's the complete wrong way around. We first have to start doing something, repeat it over and over again, and then we can start feeling confident about that. It's not feel confident first and then take action, it's take action first and then later start feeling confident about it. And that exactly brings us back to what Carolyn said in the podcast, because what she later said in the episode is
that we learn the most when we're constantly creating and releasing our work.
But I know, since this sounds like it's a lot easier said than done, let me tell you a little bit of how I applied that for myself after I heard this idea for the very first time. So when I started recording those videos, it was very awkward to film myself in public walking around like this with a big stick and the camera holding in your face, and then aside from that also then talking with a little bit of energy into the camera. But at the same time I also had this vision that I would want to be able to share my thoughts and ideas in videos like this, so I knew that I somehow would have to overcome it. And here are a few things that helped me on how to do that. And the first big thing for me was to shift the question that I'm asking myself before making videos from why can I not be confident being on camera to instead asking myself how would I actually be acting if I was confident about it. And that thought I then turned into like a little bit of a process that I go through before I start recording any kind of YouTube video. And that includes that before I put my camera, I'm hyping myself up a little so that I have more energy in camera. And aside from that, to make it a little bit easier to get all my points across, I always have like a little script that I write myself beforehand, so that whenever I don't know what to say to the camera, then I still have something that I can go back to. And then still, if I do ever get into my head, either while recording a video or while then later editing the video, and I think to myself, wow, this is not going to be good enough, I'm not going to put this out, this is not worth sharing with anyone, I then try to ask myself one question, and that is, if I already had a successful YouTube channel, which is my goal here, if I was already sure that the stuff that I'm creating is good, would I then feel the same about it? And the answer always is no. Then of course it wouldn't be a problem, I would be totally confident about this, and I would never question to even put it out. So the small shift there is to think about how would the person that I would want to become act, and then just try and act as if though you already were that person. And to be honest, in the very beginning I was very skeptical about whether this could work or not, because to me it sounds like I might try it but it's never gonna work anyway. But now after quite a while of practice and repetition, I noticed that it totally gets a lot easier, and I become more confident talking to the camera and sharing that and uploading it to YouTube. And that actually brings us back to what Caroline said in the podcast, and the final thought that I would want to leave you with in today's video, that as someone who's doing something creative, as an artist, whatever you want to call it, there's something you need to realize, and that is that nobody will ever hear and know about you and what you can create if you don't just put yourself out there. You might be the very best person in the world doing whatever you're doing out there, but you will still never be discovered simply because nobody ever gets to know about you. So if this is something that you want to get ahead with, you have to start promoting your own work, sharing it with other people, and just putting it out there. And if you're not doing it just for your own sake of yourself getting ahead, then maybe this other thought might make you change your mind, which is in the end that if you're someone who has important ideas and thoughts that could make an impact on someone else's life, then it's basically your responsibility to put that stuff out and to promote it, and to not let yourself be stopped by not feeling confident enough. And so for me personally, I have decided to massively put out more and more videos, as many as I possibly can, and I'm extremely curious to hear about what could it be for you? How could you fix that? How could you create more stuff and put it out there? Let me know in the comments below, I want to know about that. Or at least if not you yourself are struggling with this problem, then I guess we all know that one friend that might have this idea that they want to start something, but they simply do not have that confidence. Then maybe just send them this video and let them know that they're not alone with this, and there actually is a way around that. By the way, have you noticed at all that I shaved? In the last video I had a super long beard, and now I suddenly look 5 years younger again. Hey, feels a lot better.
And in the end, of course, if you want to help spreading the message, leaving a like, a comment or subscribing to the channel goes a long way. That's it for today. Here you can check some of the previous videos if you want to see more. Florian out, until next time.